Hi, good afternoon. We're here with Nick Deacon Elliot from Boxphish. How you doing, Nick?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Very well.
Good stuff. And let's just kick things off. Go straight in. If you'd like to tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how long you've been doing it for, please.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Nick Deacon Elliot, CEO of a company called Boxphish. So we are a UK-based cyber security awareness training company. So we essentially build software to help end users in organizations spot cyber attacks, and then we work with the IT technical and risk teams to run simulated cyber attacks on their organization to help pinpoint where that risk is and ultimately give them an action plan to reduce it. We were founded about 4.5 years or so ago, but really kind of been putting the pedal to the metal for about 3 years now. The first 18 months or so were more product development and R&D. So that's us in a nutshell.
Brilliant. So we ask each business owner, director, CEO who comes on about the impact of the pandemic for them. And so what, in terms of your sector, was the biggest impact for you guys and your business?
Well, I think, some parts of the pandemic probably impacted all businesses the same, in the sense that having to get people out and enabling our employees to work remotely quickly. Thankfully, we were quite an early startup at that point, and we weren't wedded to a load of legacy technology or office space. That was an easy thing for us to do, actually. So we had obviously the kind of the physical side of things, or lack of the ability to have a physical presence. There was then, I suppose, the challenge around ensuring everyone was aligned and motivated, and onboarding new starters was certainly a challenge for us in that period. And getting hold of prospects and customers. We were largely a phone-based organization, and moving to a position where there was nobody at the end of the phone meant that from a new client generation perspective, we had to be a bit more creative with our outreach and with our go-to-market. So kind of forced us to probably innovate on our new customer acquisition strategy and find ways of getting hold of people and customers, basically.
Now that kind of leads on nicely to the next question. When you've got to innovate due to circumstances, were there one or two actions that you took that you kind of found, okay, we had to do these, but actually we've stuck with them because they were an improvement or opportunity for the business?
Yeah, so I think the pandemic and since then, there's been a massive spike in cybercrime, scamming. We've probably all seen it in our personal lives as well, and it's just gone crazy, really. Text, emails, any way they'll get hold of you, they can. Or they'll at least try. So what it meant is that we introduced some surveys, so survey tools, so understanding at an end user level how they feel they would handle being scammed, or how they would feel about identifying scams or cybercrime, whereas predominantly we would do phone calling, really, or emails. We've now gone down kind of that researching businesses to understand where they feel they are in the curve of being able to cope with a cyber attack. And then from the findings, if people come back and say, oh yeah, we don't think we'll be able to handle it, we don't think we're prepared for it, then we'll go and target them. And that's just an online survey that we send out to many organizations, and some people take it and it gives us some great analysis. So we've kind of stuck with that, to be perfectly honest, because it's been a really useful tool for us, and kind of a new tool. And then the other thing, I suppose, it's more basic level, is making sure that anyone's enabled to work anywhere. So not necessarily innovation, but more at an equipment level, I suppose, at its basics. So if anything happens like this again, or even the snow we're all getting now, like making sure that we're not wedded to that physical building.
Yeah, the show must go on regardless.
Yeah, the show must go on.
Outside circumstances. Thank you for that. So what does the future look like for you guys? I mean, I can sort of hazard a guess in that sector that there's going to be more and more developments on behalf of the cyber criminals that you're going to have to counteract and stuff like that. But in your words, what does the future look like, and what do you see as the main challenges going ahead?
Yeah, so I mean, we spent the kind of the first 2-3 years of the business just laying the foundations for growth, I would say. So understanding where we add value to the customer base, where our target market is, who our ideal customer is, and that kind of took us probably 3 years to get clear on that, and I suppose laying the foundations for scale. And that's been a process that we've been running really since the back end of 2019, and we're now in a position where, you know, we're really clear who we can add value to. We add value a lot of value to our current customer base. We are growing nicely, and really it's just a kind of position now where we're enjoying doing more of what we're good at, if that makes sense. So kind of not reinventing the wheel. We spent 3 years getting the recipe right, and now it's just a case of doubling down. So in terms of what the future looks like, hopefully more growth. We want to get to a position where we're protecting 1 million people. We're at about 400,000 now. So we're working towards that kind of initial headline goal. And in terms of challenge, I think, well, if I'm being perfectly honest, just getting the right people on the journey, and new people, and then for me as I suppose leading the business, is making sure that the business continues to point in the right direction while the people that we've got on the team are being stretched and growing and progressing along that journey with us.
Great, thank you for that. It's insightful. So moving on to yourself then, as a business owner, head of the company there, what would you say along the journey so far that you've had is your biggest lesson, some biggest thing that you've learned along the way, if there's one that you can pick that stands out? Good question.
There's probably not one specific thing. I can think of a couple. So I would say the first one, I think, would be maybe think bigger, in the sense of, you know, if you're going to go and set a company up in today's business world, I think don't just go for mediocrity. Don't settle for like building something okay. Like, set the stall out. We want to be the best in our game. You know, understand what your value proposition is, and really go for it. I think, you know, we've had a good few years, and touching wood here, long may it continue. But it took me probably a year or so to really believe how great maybe the opportunity is in the market, certainly the market we're in. And we're quite ambitious now. And I think sometimes if you've got to go out your comfort zone to go and maximize the opportunity. And that takes a bit of a different headspace, I would say. But if you're going to go for it, then why not go for it, if that makes sense?
Certainly does. Yeah, definitely resonates with the opportunity that I think a lot of people have but don't realize it. And you've got to go through a bit of personal growth to kind of seize that. So that's a good share. Thank you very much.
And can I just I'll just give one other thing, which is probably not conventional business advice. So apologies if I'm not a believer in optionality. I think you know, you speak to people and they're like, oh, I'm going to set a company up, kind of see how it goes for a few months, and if it all turns to worms, I'll carry on doing it. Like, for me, once I made the decision, I was in, and you know, you make it work. So I'm not a huge believer in having a plan B. You kind of want a little bit of a get out, but really don't give yourself that plan B. Just find something that you're so passionate about that everything else seems stupid. Focus on it and go for it would be my, but almost wait till you get that gut feeling that this is the one, this is the idea. For it.
So would that be your best piece of advice, perhaps, to someone starting out? Is there anything else you might add to that?
Well, I think if you want to start out and you don't and the concept, and it doesn't have to have the detail behind it, but the idea or the problem that you think you're going to solve for your customers, or the value that you think you're going to solve to bring to your customers, if you don't have this kind of internal excitement and passion about what you're going to go and do, then you're probably not going to go and do it. And I know that sounds obvious, but I think until everything else seems like a bad idea, stick with what you're doing. And then once you get that, like, I've got to do this because this is the opportunity, this is the one, I would then say go for it and don't let anything stop you.
Piece of advice, thank you. So what do you use for inspiration, or what inspires you to do what you do? Could be anything you read, listen to, friends, family, clients, people you work with, team.
Yeah, well, I think I'm quite an avid studier of people that have grown software companies and kind of been trailblazers in that space. So I do a lot of reading around that, and I'm also a bit of a believer in you don't need to reinvent the wheel. So I think once you've got the concept of what it is you want to do, whether it's software, whether it's another business, etc., but that idea that is the idea for you, then study some of the great brands, whether it's from the way they look after their customers, whether how they market, how they've scaled their organizations. I don't think you have to reinvent the wheel too much. I think if you get the basics right, and we're a big believer, we just get the basics right, keep it simple, but do what we do very well, don't overcomplicate things, and that is enough to have good success. So I would say keep it simple, learn from other great companies, learn from their mistakes as well. I think it's as important to understand what you want to do as what you don't want to do, and use that as your kind of your guidance for building your company.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So lastly, is there anything in terms of latest news that you'd like to share around Boxphish that's worthy of note, or perhaps even just directing us to your website if we're a business looking to find out a bit more about what you do?
Yeah, so well, latest I suppose news is we've been awarded a couple of major government contracts now to go and deliver cybersecurity awareness training for, I think it's about 15% of all local governments. So that's quite a major thing for us. But we don't just work in the local government. That that I suppose that's a major contract for us. But we work with many SMBs in the UK. Cyber risk, whether you believe it is or not, is something that you should be considering at all board levels, at all sides of organizations. 95% of successful cyber attacks are a result of somebody doing something they shouldn't at a human level, and we can help identify and put a stop to that risk. So our website is boxphish.com. We're always open to speaking to new customers, and I think my biggest, I suppose, tip from a Boxphish-led perspective is take your IT and cyber strategy seriously, because it really can. We see every day the consequences of poorly run strategy, and it can cause a lot of damage to your organization. So try be as proactive as possible, and invest a little bit of time and energy in making sure you're doing your part to keep your business safe.
Excellent. Good advice there. Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, Nick. I hope it continues to grow for you. It goes from strength to strength over the next few years, and all the best with it.
Okay, thank you very much. Cheers, mate.